It's your heart shifting into a measurable state called coherence, where the rhythm becomes ordered, where the electromagnetic field expands, where your nervous system signals to every cell, we are safe, we are sufficient, we can receive. This is the abundance frequency at the biological level. And neuroscience has proven that when you practice this state for just 3 to 5 minutes daily, your brain begins to rewire, creating new neural pathways that filter for opportunity instead of threat, that notice gifts instead of gaps, that perceive the world as abundant instead of scarce. The second practice is breath of receiving. Most people breathe in a way that signals stress. Short, shallow, chest-based breathing that keeps your nervous system in survival mode. But there's a specific breathing pattern that activates the abundance frequency. It's called the coherent breathing rhythm, and it's remarkably simple. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 5. Let your belly expand, not your chest. Then breathe out slowly through your nose for a count of 5. Let your belly fall. That's it. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, 6 breaths per minute. This specific rhythm activates your vagus nerve, the master regulator of your nervous system, shifting you out of fight or flight and into what scientists call the rest and digest state, but what ancient traditions knew as the receptive state, the state where you can actually receive. When you breathe at this rhythm for 5 minutes while holding the feeling of gratitude in your heart, something extraordinary happens. Your heart and brain begin to synchronize. Your electromagnetic field becomes coherent, and you literally begin to broadcast a different frequency into the quantum field around you. Not metaphorically, literally. This has been measured in laboratories. The third practice is identity shifting. This is the most subtle but most powerful of the three. Most people, when they think about abundance, imagine it as something outside themselves they need to attract: a better job, more money, a relationship, an opportunity. And that very orientation, that reaching outward, reinforces the frequency of lack. Because inherent in "I need to attract abundance" is the belief "I don't currently have it." The shift happens when you stop trying to attract abundance and start asking, who would I be if abundance were already my natural state? Not what would I have, but who would I be? How would that version of you move through the morning? How would they make decisions? How would they treat the resources they already have? How would they feel in their body walking into a room? This isn't positive thinking. This is identity-level frequency shifting. Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And when you begin to embody the identity of someone for whom abundance is natural, your behavior changes, your perception changes, your choices change, and the external world has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new broadcast signal. This is where science and mysticism converge perfectly. Quantum physics shows us that the observer affects the observed. Your state of consciousness literally influences which potentials collapse into reality. Neuroscience shows us that your reticular activating system filters reality based on your beliefs and identity. And ancient wisdom taught that consciousness precedes form, that frequency determines manifestation, that you must be before you can have. When you combine these three practices, something shifts, usually within days, sometimes within hours, not because you've manipulated reality, but because you've cleared the interference blocking your natural receptivity. And when the abundance frequency can finally broadcast clearly through you, the universe responds the only way it can, with resonance. And this is where it gets personal, because we're not talking about anyone else's journey anymore. We're talking about yours. Right now, in this moment, something is different. You can feel it, can't you? Not in your thoughts, but deeper. In that space behind your thoughts where truth lives. A subtle shift has already begun. Because here's what most people don't realize. Exposure to a frequency begins the tuning process. You don't just learn about the abundance frequency intellectually. By focusing on it, by feeling into it, by allowing these words to land not just in your mind but in your body, you've already begun the recalibration. It's not magic, it's physics. Resonance is real. When two frequencies encounter each other, they naturally begin to synchronize. It's called entrainment. And it happens with pendulums, with heartbeats, with brainwaves, and yes, with consciousness itself. So the question isn't whether you can access the abundance frequency, you already are. The question is, what are you going to do with this activation? Because you've reached the turning point, the place where the old excuses no longer work, where you can no longer pretend you don't know. where the gap between who you've been and who you're becoming feels uncomfortable, uncertain, vulnerable. This is the space most people retreat from. They feel the shift beginning, and immediately their old programming screams danger, unknown, unsafe, and they scramble back to the familiar frequency of struggle, because at least struggle is known. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't still be here. Something in you is ready to stop performing scarcity, ready to stop proving your worth through suffering, ready to release the grip on control and discover what happens when you open your hands and let the universe place things in them instead of constantly grasping. The abundance frequency doesn't ask you to be perfect.